Welcome everybody. These are our free Keeper Q&As. We do these every month just to get to explore new features, ask questions, brainstorm, any of the following. So today we're going to be highlighting Keeper emails, give you a look behind the scenes of what features there are built in right now, what kind of a daily workflow looks like, and just be able to see it and look around before you decide if you want to do it. I know there's a lot of people that are still kind of letting it bake and are not 100% sure if they want to hop in yet. So this is just a way to kind of get a preview, ask some questions, maybe pick up some tips if you are using it. So that'll be our feature for today. And that being said, if you have not met us before, or if this is your first time on, hi, hello, welcome. We're so excited to have you. We started this consulting business from having our own businesses, from working in bookkeeping, that sort of thing. And then now we just get to nerd out about Keeper. We just get to spend all of our time figuring out what works, new features, exploring, figuring out what everybody else in the community is doing, and just troubleshooting so that we can help shorten that learning curve and also help troubleshoot and answer questions. So that is all about us. Now, one thing that's really, really important to us is not to add extra pressure to yourself. So on calls like these, sometimes, we have people from all over the spectrum from we're getting prep from your first client all the way to 150 plus clients, and then everywhere along the keeper spectrum as well, from I'm just hearing about it, I'm kind of exploring it, all the way to this is the only tool I use. So because of that spectrum, be careful about adding more shoulds to your plate. Just think about these things as options that you can add or sprinkle in or integrate in your own way. So be really, really careful about adding extra pressure to yourself. Summer tends to be one of those that we're all working on extra projects, but be careful about how much you add to your list. And especially if you feel that pull of, oh my gosh, I'm just scratching the surface and it feels a little bit panicky. That's one that we want to check and just make sure that we're not adding extra, but we're thinking about these as opportunities that we could add if they align with our goals, with our business, all those kind of things. So always want to make sure before we go in, before we start talking about stuff, that we're at least centering into, hey, we don't have a perfect keeper account and this is all we do. So you have permission to fall anywhere that feels comfortable for you and add extra sprinkles as we go along.
Absolutely. Just consider what we show you today is just inspiration, and take from it whatever sounds good to you. But as Erica mentioned, today we're going to be taking a deeper look at Keeper emails, how to set it up, the key features of that, and then we're going to jump into the demo and really show you more about how it works, and give you guys a really good look into that, so that you can see if that's something that you want to integrate or if you want to keep things as is for yourself. One thing to keep in mind is that you are welcome to ask questions anytime. We will open everything up at the end for the Q&A, but we'll go through our quick demo here, like the information about Keeper emails. We'll go through that, but please drop your questions into the chat at any point whenever they come up. Go ahead and drop them in. We always make sure that we circle back to any that are asked throughout the whole presentation here. So please drop your questions in anytime. And with that, we will dive in. So Keeper Emails is a newer feature. It's an add-on that you can do. The key pieces of this feature, it's a full email integration. That means that you can read, respond to, compose emails directly inside of Keeper. So instead of having to have your Gmail or your Outlook open in a separate window, you can now access that from Keeper directly. Within this, you still have the ability to do team collaboration. There's spaces and ways to add comments to be able to communicate internally. You can add tasks, create new tasks, attach emails to existing tasks, assign team members. All of that is included and incorporated in with Keeper emails as well. And a nice benefit of this and having it all in one place is you've got increased visibility. So even across multiple inboxes, multiple email addresses, you can have a shared email history, where all the client related emails are in one place. So it just really helps to add that visibility there. One thing to keep in mind here is that this is a premium feature. So if you have a standard Keeper account, this is not included, but this is part of the premium features.
So, like Judy mentioned, this is a way to not have to open up Gmail or Outlook and to have some of that in there and then to be able to build off of it. So, you have a separate tab. We have clients, we have templates, we have all of the other tabs that we're used to, but now we'll have inbox as well. So, we have Jody, if you'll go to the next one, we actually have a couple of options as far as how we see those emails. So we can choose to have it as like a side panel where you can have the list on the side and then a preview. So it's all in one screen. Or we can have it a little bit closer to anybody who's used to Gmail, where you have the list, and then when you click on one, it opens up into full screen. So just kind of making it accessible to anybody wherever, whatever style you would prefer. And then from there, we can go into some of those other features. So
And
just
just,
like
go ahead.
you're good. Just like with Gmail or Outlook, you can use a labeling or folder system. Now, each system calls it something different, but either way, we can tag emails or nest them within folders, which is really cool. So this borrows from that existing Gmail or Outlook structure that you already have built, just brings it into Keeper so that as you're going through your inbox, you can sort and do whatever you would like to as far as tagging or labeling.
And as we mentioned, you have ability to comment on emails for internal communication. So this is just like on our tasks in Keeper or reports in Keeper, the accounts there, you can comment back and forth with team members. You can do the same thing right here in emails as well. And this is all internal. It's just housed right below that email, a way for you to have that internal communication. This is not seen by any of your clients. It is all internal. It's kind of like the way I like to look at it is if you had printed out the email and you're passing it around the office and you slap a sticky note on top of it, it's just what your team members can see. Um, so those comments are available within this as well, where you can tag each other and go back and forth before responding to the client or taking action if needed. And when you are ready to take action, you can create tasks. So you can, we'll show you in the demo, but you can click to add a new task or you can use the features up here to connect it to an existing task as well. But bottom line is you can take this email and attach it to a task. So in the client view, when you're looking at that task item, you can easily see and reference. You can click on that email here and reference it when you are ready to do the work that's needed there. So it's nice to have like a full circle. Everything's connected and easy to access.
And this also means that if there's a thread, um, you still get to see that whole entire thread. So if there's back and forth and team members need that full context, you don't have to worry about, well, it's just one single email that they get to see. It's the entire thread for any back and forth, any attachments, anything like that. Now, quick mention here. I think with any email platform, there's going to be challenges with how we process through. So some of us, depending on our scope and what we have implemented with our clients, have a faster response time. Others of us don't. But either way, be careful not to spend your entire day in your inbox. It's super easy to do. This is no different than if you were just doing it in Gmail or Outlook. If anything, it's on the same platform with your tasks. So just be careful because it's really easy to see that number tick up, to go over there to respond to that email, and you can easily get caught in the, oh, just one more email. Oh, there's just one more trap. So that can happen, whatever email platform you're using. Keeper is no different on that. So just be really mindful about how you're going about this. And if you are trying to figure out what that boundary or balance is. One thing that we like to do internally, and we've seen a lot of people do, is time block. So maybe your first 30 minutes of the day or whatever is getting everything sorted on emails and kind of doing a triage. Or maybe that's your last before you clock out for the day. Maybe that's your lunch time when you're getting back into the zone after lunch, right? You can schedule that wherever you would like. And maybe that's a little bit more flexible, but we like to do a bit of a triage approach, is what a lot of people call it. So it's like, hey, let me spend some time reviewing. Let me sort them however I need to, tag in other team members, delegate, do whatever I need to get them in the right priority level. Maybe this is where you use a different like labeling system for action needed or ongoing conversation or completed. You can do whatever you would like to make it clear on what you need to actually prioritize and respond to and what's just like informational, and we can sort it away. And then maybe you come back and take action at a separate time, if you run out of time or if you need to circle back or anything like that. So there are plenty of ways to go about this. This is not a how-to on how to process your emails, but if you tend to struggle, try time blocking and try a bit of a more like sorted approach where you're just tackling a chunk of this at a time. You're not reviewing, sorting, and taking action all in the same block, because sometimes that can be the issue that makes this a 3-hour time commitment accidentally.
Yeah. Another tip here is to be clear, especially with your expectations with between you and your clients, and even with your team members as well. Make sure that everybody's on the same page and knows where to put questions, when to send that in an email, and when you want them using the client portal. So being clear on that will help to actually improve your efficiencies as you're going through your client communication as well.
Exactly. And this is one that we've seen a lot of like questions and best practices come up in the community, is like, okay, so now I have emails, but now my clients are not using the portal and they're just emailing me with everything. So just be careful about how we explain that to clients, where we want to go with that, and just making some internal boundaries ourselves so that, like Jody said, we can kind of distill that information to our team, and kind of provide best practices. This is one of those that if you have a client that like is refusing to use the portal, maybe email is our best bet. So it's at least all in Keeper and I can do things accordingly. But just be mindful about that, because that can become an area where it gets to be a question mark for the client if we're not explicitly clear of, hey, I may send you an email. These are okay to respond to, or these have sensitive info. I need you to respond in the portal, right? So just making that clear for you will make it also clear for your clients, and kind of help with that muddy line that can sometimes happen if we have the client portal and we're also responding in email.
Yeah. And you can always include a reminder like thing in the bottom part of your signature or something like that, or as part of the client portal announcements or something like that too, as reminders of when to use each. We've seen those as examples as well. But with that client email history, so everything gets gathered and collected based on your client contacts in your on your client page. When you're looking at the portal, we've got an email history over here, and that's going to gather everything for the client contacts that are in there. So you'll have a full history in here, including all the threads, any comments back and forth. All of that is still visible in here. But if you are a firm that's using multiple inboxes, this helps to kind of gather everything into one place. And this is something that you can limit by team member. So we'll show you where you can change and update that access. But it's just nice to be able to have things all in one place to be able to go back and have that history.
Yeah, and just to paint a really clear distinction, the inbox, just like a Gmail inbox, is where everything is going to come through. But depending on the contacts that you have saved for each client, Keeper will help auto sort into your email history. If you're on the client page and looking at, hey, what did we send? Or did this auto reminder go out? Anything that comes through the inbox that has those contacts will show up in the email history. So you can have that full experience and also not have to like Keeper will help auto sort that into the email history for just that client if needed.
Yeah. And I know we've had already had some questions come through about setting this up and costs and that kind of thing. So this is actually what we're getting into right now is how do we set this up? So again, as Keeper premium users, you will have on your client portal tab within your practice settings, this branding tab here. From there, you'll go to practice emails and you'll need to have a practice email set up in here. Now, something that they have updated recently is that you can have more than one practice email. So if you have multiple inboxes, multiple email accounts that you're using to communicate with your clients, you are able to add multiple practice emails in here as well. And you can have one set as your default, and then you can have those additional options as well if needed. So that's going to be again in your practice settings under client portal and branding is where you will enter in the email addresses that you want to include. From
Exactly. And
there, oh, go ahead.
I was just going to add while we're on this, the what was our firm email address or our practice email is now, if you are a premium user, lumped into the fee, right? So we don't have an extra cost or anything for that. It's the additional practice emails that are going to stack into that like $10 extra a month. So if
Yeah.
anybody is confused on pricing, if you have a team at or an info at or a support at, right? That base email, that practice email, we can go ahead and include that without having any extra. But if we wanted to include Erica at or Jody at or something like that, that's where we can add additional, and that's where that additional cost will come from. So just want to make sure that was really clear for like, how does that look for most people? That practice is that default team at, support at, whatever, but you can add additionals as needed.
Right. And so once you've got them added here, and this is just for your practice ones, this is not for your individuals. We'll get there. But for the practice emails, this is where you'll enter those in, and then you're going to click on that inbox to come in here to be able to connect them. And right now, Keeper can connect with Gmail and with Outlook. So if you have other services, reach out to Keeper to talk with them to see if and when they may be offering support for additional email platforms. But for right now, email or Gmail and Outlook. So one that first practice email is included. And that's going to be down here in this practice section. If you try to connect up here in the top, that is seen as a personal inbox, and that is where additional fees begin. So down here, this one practice email is free, included in that Keeper Premium. And then any additional practice email inboxes below that will be an added fee, or the personal inboxes will be an added fee. So when you're ready to connect, you just come here to inbox. You'll have this not connected button here, and you just click on to walk through logging in and getting that synced there.
Yep. And this is one of those that the Keeper team has reinforced multiple times like, hey, reach out to us if you have questions. If this gets
Yes.
confusing, if you're like, hey, I think I set this up, but now it's showing up as a personal and I meant it to be a practice. There's a lot of this that gets a little bit hairy when it comes to setup. So that's one, go down into the bottom of your Keeper account on any page, use that little chat bubble and just let them know what the issue is. Or if you have additional questions about pricing, that's one that they've reinforced like, hey, ask us anything because we want the feedback and we want to know how to help.
Yes. And then as far as access, you can determine who has access to all of these pieces here. So again, within your practice settings, you're going to go to manage users, and then there is now a Keeper emails tab to click on. Here you can give people access to have the personal inboxes. If you check this, it is going to pop up with a notification that says this is going to be an additional fee. That fee will start when the inbox is connected. Um, so you'll see that as you go through here. But you can choose who has access to add their personal inboxes in and what that email address is going to look like. Practice inboxes, who has access to those, and even the client email history, who has access to see that. You can choose here what visibility and what access your team members have. And yes, they could have access to the email history without having access to the inboxes. Um, so that's where those will be set up. All right. So with that, we're going to go ahead and dive into the demo to give you guys a little bit more visibility on how all of this works. But please do keep those questions coming in the chat
Yep, whether they're about emails and we'll cover them
or
during our
anything.
demo, or starting to open up for other questions that are across different areas of Keeper, or hey, I'm having this issue, or hey, I'm not sure what this workflow looks like. Anything's fair game from here while we start doing this demo.
So real quick, just to show you what this is going to look like under Manage Users, Keeper Emails. If I were to select Personal Inbox, it's going to pop up with this to let you know what's going to happen. And it gives you the opportunity to confirm whether you want to do that or to cancel. And again, you can turn on and off the access here as well. And then we'll come up to Inbox. And this is where Erica was mentioning about the different views that we have. So you've got, this is the side-by-side view. Um, and I can click to see that. Or if you click this little button here, you can switch the view to more of a thread here or list view. And then you click to open, view it, and then you can go back to select another one. Um, You've got labels on the side here that you can use. If I want to, I can drag and drop to put that in my folder. Yeah. Any other small pieces here before we actually dive into one of the emails, Erica?
The only other thing that I wanted to highlight, because it's there on the page, but I missed it for a very long time. So in case anybody else is in the same boat, you can also search in here. So that bar up at the top, and you can go through sent or things like that. So just easy reminder that that is up there. Some of us may be using this as our primary email, or that's what we're going to. Some of us are more using this for, hey, I'm going to process in my usual inbox, but if there's anything that I need to add a task to, I want to come into Keeper, search it, use it that way. So again, full spectrum of how you want to use this. But if you are just trying to look and find that specific email to go back to check on a task, to add a task to, anything like that, use that search because it is pretty robust. So just want to kind of call that out before we get into some of the more detailed bits.
And we didn't highlight these in the slides, but you do also have a way of filtering. So you can filter by contact, by contacts, by content, and then you can also save filtered views here as well. So there's a lot depending on what volume you have in here, depending on how you're using it. There are some added shortcuts and tools to help making managing emails even better. Real quick before we go back into all the other features at a single email level. If you did have multiple practice emails, so we mentioned that like the inbox is up here. Right now, remember, I didn't check the box to enable it for me to have it. So I'm getting an error that it's not available. It's been disabled. So that means that your team members can't accidentally, you know, connect their email address without your permission. So they have to have that user access enabled before they can even attempt to connect it. And if you did have multiple practice emails, so you have multiple accounts that you want the whole team or certain team members to access, there is an option down here to add an inbox. Again, it's going to come up with this notification to let you know, hey, that first one was free. The rest of them are going to be $10 each. Continue if you would like to connect additional ones.
Yep. And then from there, Jody, I think we can go ahead and go into an actual email and show what
Yeah,
that looks like and what our options are. And in doing that, we'll go ahead and touch on a couple of these questions about deleting and things like that.
sure. Do you have one in particular, or do you want me just to do the top one?
Let's go to that client demo, that second one.
New
That's a really
questions?
good example. Yeah.
Okay. All right, let me move our faces out of the way here. Okay, so already you can see like these are the tags that are on it. Client communication, inbox, action needed. So if you were using filters or that kind of thing, these are the labels that are going to help filter through that. So depending on how you have things set up, you might see additional ones in there. And this is going to mimic whatever is in your current Gmail or Outlook. Whatever folders, labels that you have set up in there, you will see that mirrored here. You don't have to set up, you don't have to redo all of that inside of Keeper. It's going to pull it in when you connect your inbox there.
Yep,
You can see that
absolutely.
we've got comments down below.
Yep. And remember, comments are internal. I'm glad that they had this not visible to client and it's yellow. So it's a little bit more distinct. But this is how we can go back and forth. Again, just like commenting anywhere in Keeper, you can do that at and then list out their name and click on it to tag that team member. So this is a really nice way to kind of like pass it off in between people or ask questions before you respond, right? So if there's something like, hey, where are we with these financials before I respond back to the client? We can have that internal sidebar before we actually respond. So I love that being below and still having the same functionality as commenting anywhere else within Keeper.
And just like any traditional, you can reply, you can forward. All of that is in here and it keeps it in the thread for you. Um,
One thing that's important to note while we're here, and one of the questions that came in is how do we delete, right?
mm,
So we have an archive, we have add tasks, we have labels, we have all mark unread, all of those that we're familiar with. At this point in Keeper's existence, we cannot delete, we can archive. So that may be one of those make or break features for you. It is for a lot of people. So don't feel bad if that's the one thing that we're hanging on to before we implement Keeper emails or anything, but just want to be fully transparent that that actual deleting, if you have spam or something like that, is not available. We can archive here within Keeper. So good distinction to
yeah,
make, and then kind of looping in that question as well.
yeah, yeah. Across the top here, so if you already have a task associated with this and you need to link it, you're going to click on the ellipses here, the three dots to link tasks to email, and then you can search for that task and connect it here. If you don't have one, but you need one, you can click to add a new task. Hey.
Mhm.
You can link to, or you can add the new task. You can select which client you want that to go to, what section you want that to be in, all of those details, the due date, who it's assigned to, all of it you can build out here and save. And when you do that, it does link it directly.
Yeah, absolutely. Let's actually, if you don't mind, let's go to
Sure.
that task just so we can show exactly what that looks like and how it shows up on our client page where we're used to seeing our tasks.
Okay, I didn't actually set a task for this one.
I have one for the client demo receipts, so you should be good.
Yeah, I'll go to this one. So when you do have it linked or attached, so whether you created it from here or you linked it from here, once you've done that, you can see the little difference here. Like, yep, you know that that means that there's attachments to this one. But this little check mark in one means that there's a task associated with this as well. You see that at the top here. And you're also going to see it down below. You can click on that to open it, and you can actually go to the close here. And you can see the email is here as well and clickable. Do you want me to go ahead to the close or do you want me to stay on this page?
Let's go ahead and go to the close just so everybody knows what it's going to look like on the page. It's not vastly different, but I want to make sure that it's super
Yeah.
clear.
So right here, it'll show you in that line that there's something attached and you can click on that to expand it.
And then same thing we
And
mentioned before, if there's back and forth or anything, you'll get that full thread. You'll also be able to see any comments on it, any tags on or labels on it, anything like that. So I really appreciate that this allows us to do some of that back and forth, add a task for it, comment back and forth, that sort of thing, while still all being attached to the same email, right? So we're not having to hunt around or post an email link for like, how do I get back there or anything like that. It's all kind of within. And especially now that we have those save views, it makes it really easy to be like, oh, shoot, let's check on the tasks from those emails that I processed on Monday. Let's see where we're at. Let's just filter by any email that has a task. So we can kind of check in on that. So it just gives
Yeah.
you kind of that full circle ability to reference everything without it being in two separate platforms and two platforms that don't talk to each other. So really
Right.
helpful there.
One recent update, I think it was just last week, they added the ability to be able to preview attachments without having to download them. So previously, you always had to download before you could even look at them. Now you can click on it to preview it. But that's all you can do right now. So if they are sending in receipts and you're like, no, use the receipts email, not my email, you could forward this email to your receipts. Excuse me, um, to your receipts
Receipts
account if you're
address.
using
Mhm.
Keeper receipts. You could do that. And then once it's in Keeper receipts, you'd be able to move it, process it as usual. Otherwise, at this time, you will need to download them and then upload them into wherever you need them to go. So for right now, we can preview them, but that's all we can do with them, preview and download. And then if you need to take action on them, you will need
Like to move
to
them
download them
to
and
a
upload
client
them
portal
somewhere else.
question,
Yep.
yeah, or a file or something like that. So if you want to put it somewhere else in Keeper other than in the message history, then quick workaround for now until that gets updated is forwarding it to that receipts inbox, which will essentially act as a client upload. So
Right.
quick little workaround there.
One other thing that we forgot to mention is, well, let me go to the email history so you guys can see that. So if I come over here to email history, what you'll notice maybe is that that keeper receipts or that receipts email isn't included in here. The email address that was used isn't connected to this client yet.
It's not added as
So
a contact.
right. So if I click on that again, I can click on or hover over this and it says add unknown contact to a client. So I can update this in here, change this to my buddy Earl.
Little Earl Pickles.
Yes. And then I can select what client he is part of.
Which just
And
behind the scenes means that if you are getting emails from, let's say, somebody else on the team or a CPA or something like that, Keeper has made it pretty easy to essentially add that as a contact and pull in some of the info so you're not copy and pasting the email address and things like that to actually get it to show in the message history. So that's kind of the behind the scenes of like, why would we do
yeah,
this? It's all in that ability to be able to see it in the email history or send
right.
something to that contact.
And something to keep in mind is that, yes, if you do add them as a contact, then that means that they will get, if you have the automated notifications turned on for like portal reminders, they'll receive those at this point since we don't currently have the ability to pick and choose which contacts get those. So just keep that in mind. If you need it as part of your email history, but you don't want it as part of your contacts that get notified, it might have to think that through a little bit more before making that decision.
Yeah, absolutely. And we're always happy to help kind of troubleshoot the nuances of, hey, I have this weird scenario. I'm not sure how to
Yeah.
process this, or how to set it up so that we're not bombarding the CPA or anything. Keeper is also super happy to help with that on an individual basis as well. So just
Yeah.
some options there. If you do get caught and you're like, I don't know what to do here, reach out to either us or support and we can help.
Yeah.
So that's kind of I was gonna say quick, but a thorough look at emails, kind of functionality at this point, that sort of thing. We don't have any questions on emails at this point, so let us know if there are other ones that are coming up for you. Otherwise, we'll kind of shift gears and start talking about some
Sure.
other features here. So Tara has a really great question. So can we assign more than one team member to a custom task? And like, how is that accomplished? So Tara, I'm going to give you some context. This is not a premium or standard. Like this is not going to be different for different kinds of Keeper accounts. These are going to be the same throughout. So don't worry about whether you're on a standard or a premium. This same answer is going to apply. At this point in Keeper's history, we can assign one team member, and that's it. We can't assign another team member for a subtask or on this task. Now, that being said, the workaround for a lot of us is that new sign-offs feature. So that is a way that we can have the task assigned to a user and then pass it off between us internally without having to like reassign that task or because we can't assign two at this point. So Jody, if you don't mind, can we do a quick preview on that sign-offs and how we might be able to add that? Let's just say to this task if you want to,
Sure.
just so we can give kind of a clear example of what that pass-off can look like, even if it's not technically built in.
Yeah. So like Erica said, right here is where you assign, you can only have one assigned there. But that sign off is a great workaround where, okay, once this team member is done and I need somebody else to have eyes on it, I can do that. And we can add multiple people if we need to have multiples here. And then click save. So this way, when that team member has done their part, they will click sign off here. And then the next sign off person, which would be Erica in this case, would get a notification that says this task was completed by so and so or signed off by so and so. It's ready for your review or ready for you to take a look. So then she can do her part of it, sign off on it, and then I would be notified that it's ready for me to do and go on from there.
Yep, so that's our quickest workaround at this point. There are ways that we could use a task status to pass it between, but this
Mhm.
is the most succinct, especially with that new feature rolling out, so that it was created as a workaround until they can assign multiple team members to it. So this is our closest way to kind of pass it internally. Alrighty, ready for the next one, Jody?
Yeah.
Okay, so howdy, Christy. Um, so we have a practice email at mywebsite.com, right? So it's an actual email account that is not going to be supported in Keeper emails. So if you forward all of your emails to a Gmail account so that you can use Keeper emails, right? So we're kind of passing it from our at mywebsite.com to Gmail. If you reply in Keeper's email system, what will it come through? Will it come through that Gmail address or will it come through at my website? So I had to read that a little bit slowly just to make sure I caught all the nuances there. But Jody, go ahead and take a first crack at that one, and I'm happy to add some context.
To my understanding, whatever email address is listed here in the practice email is the email that it will show that it comes from.
Yeah, that would be it would be something we would have to like test an example of just to like triple check to make sure there's not some weird going on. But I'm on the same boat, Jody, that any email from Keeper is typically going to come through that practice email that's set up, that default. So if that's your at mywebsite.com, my assumption without testing would be that that's what it's going to come from when it sends. So now there is a big question of if the base only functions off Gmail, what happens there, right? So that would be the piece that we need to test, but that would be my baseline understanding would be that it would come from the practice email that you have set up at that at mywebsite.com.
Yeah, and Christy, this is again, this is not something that we have tested yet. I'm not sure that we could test it. So since you have like an active use case scenario here, this is what I would encourage you to do. I would encourage you to put your normal email address here in the practice email. And then from the inbox, go to connect it and select and see if you can log into that Gmail account. So that way you've got your practice email is your true email. But because you're forwarding everything into a Gmail account, see if you can link a Gmail account here. I don't know if that's going to work, but that would be what I would test next is to see like can I log into a different Gmail account that doesn't match the actual practice, like the same ending as my practice. That
And
would be
full
the thing, like the
transparency,
next
if this is
testing.
one that we need to hop on a quick 15 or 20 minutes
Yes.
so we can screen share and walk it through with you, just let us know. That's accessible for anybody on the call, but
Yeah.
Christy, yeah, just let us know if we need to like hop on Zoom so we can screen share, walk you through it and test it with you. Since we won't be able to like log in and test it ourselves, we can kind of use that screen share as an option. Beautiful.
Thank you.
Um, yeah, anytime,
Oh, and
anytime.
Rebecca's correct. So she mentioned like you don't have, it doesn't have to be an at Gmail or at Outlook email address. Like Hughes and Strong, ours is the platform is through Gmail, but the actual email address is at hughesandstrong.com. So that's what it's like. What is running your email account? Is it a Gmail based platform or server or whatever it's called?
It's a private
Or is it an
server.
Outlook one? Yeah.
Yeah, it's a private server, and I think I have to
Right. So that's where we'd
import.
have to test it.
Yeah, I'd have to import all of my emails over to be managed by Outlook or Gmail and then pay them for those services.
Yeah.
And we didn't want to muddy the web hosting services,
Yeah,
and I don't
absolutely.
understand any of it.
Yeah, I was gonna say that this quickly gets to where it's like not in our knowledge base, but it is within our
Right.
testing knowledge base. So
Yeah.
definitely reach out if you're like, mm, all of this
Yeah.
sounds
We
like
can.
gibberish, but I am logged into my account. If you want to click around, let us know. We're happy to help.
Yeah. We can do a troubleshooting call. That'd be great.
Yeah.
I appreciate
Alrighty.
it.
Yeah, anytime. So I'm going to pop to Heather's question next since it's kind of related to emails, and then
Sure.
we'll pop over to Tara has kind of a, okay, if that's not possible, what is question? So really fun troubleshooting there. So for Miss Heather's question, so if you have multiple email addresses coming into Keeper, so let's say you have your practice one and then you have like your personal one, um, how how do we select which email address that's coming from when we're selecting an email? So I can give you the answer here. I won't have an example because our
Yeah. I
demo is
can't
only
show
set
you.
up with one exactly, but I can help give instructions on what that would look like. So Jody, from this email, if you will, yep, perfect. So what we did was hit reply or forward, either one. And then just like Jody's showing now, you'll have from, and that's where if you have multiple addresses set up, you'll be able to choose from those that are set up for which one it's replying from. So
Yeah.
that'll be your
You'll have one
option.
that's a default.
Yep,
So whatever you
exactly.
have set as your default is what you'll always see here, but then click on it and then you can select. If you have additional ones, there'll be options here for you to be able to choose which
Yep.
one.
So that default will always be the practice email address, right? So that's what's going to auto pop up. If you don't change anything, then you'll have the options in the dropdown to select who that's coming from if you want it to come from a team member instead of the team app or whatever that looks like for you. Perfect. So going back to tasks, if so we can only assign tasks for one person. We can do a sign off that can pass back and forth. But Jody, what's your thought on how to, if we have somebody that's out sick, or let's say is going on maternity leave or a longer vacation or something, how do we get that task to the covering team member so it shows up on their list without necessarily like changing it permanently? So I want to kind of give you first crack at that and then we'll kind
Yeah,
of pass back and forth because it's a really good question, but it's
it
definitely one of those that's
is.
in the weeds a little bit. And that may not show up for everybody.
Right. And in a case like this, I think that there's probably there's not like one good, hey, do this way, this is going to be perfect. It's going to be like, okay, there's a bunch of different kinds of workarounds that you could do. So let's play around with it and see which one works best for you. In this kind of situation where it's like somebody's out sick, or maybe it's a short-term vacation, those cases, or, emergency, hey, I need you to cover this person. With those, I think my personal go-to, like the first thing that pops into my head, is to come to tasks, your task list here, filter this by the assignee, of who that person, who are you covering for? Um, and to say I'm covering for Jane. Let's see what she has assigned to her. Um, okay, so now I can see all of Jane's tasks. I could save this view. And I mean, I could even say, okay, I only need to see what's due in the next 2 weeks because she's only going to be out for the next 2 weeks. So show me today through July 4th. Okay, so I can filter then by the due date and say, okay, this is all I need to look at. And then I can save this view. I'm going to say cover for Jane. I can make that private or firm wide if it needs to be firm wide. So say you're setting this up for another team member, you could set it as firm wide and then say, hey, I need you to cover for Jane. Go to this saved view. All the tasks on that saved view, I need you to handle. That would be like, that's my very first, like how to kind of take that quick action, would be using the filtering processes here in your task list, without reassigning anything. Any team member can check off a task or mark it as complete. You don't have to be assigned to it to be able to do that. And it'll still track that somebody else did that. So if you needed to see who actually completed the task, you can always see that in the task activity here, or you could see that if you were to turn on who completed it. But that would be my initial one without reassigning tasks, would be to use this to be able to capture them. And then from here, you could bop in and out of the different clients that you needed to. Erica, what are your
And if
thoughts?
I think this is my first suggestion as well. Like if it is we are permanently reassigning, or somebody's going to be out on maternity leave for, let's say, 6 months or something like that, then that's when I would probably use those prepare, review, or manager roles to reassign whoever,
Yeah,
any of Jane's tasks to Tara or something like that. So that's a more long-term solution, but I actually really like this option as a, hey, let me filter down the person that I'm covering for and the specific window that they're going to be out for. I can even extra filter from there if, let's
hmm,
say, for some reason, like another team member has their payroll because they're used to doing payroll, they're going to take that. I can filter out the payroll tasks that I'm not going to do, right? Or filter by a tag that I just need to do all of the weekly tasks or something like that. So we
you
can
can
filter
layer
it
as many
down.
filters on here as you need to.
Exactly, to get precisely the task that you need,
Mhm.
so that it is just a, hey, go down this list, clear everything off. Plus, then you still have the master task assignment doesn't change,
Mhm.
right? So whenever they
Right.
come back, it's going to be the same. The next recurrence the same. We don't have to like tag them and be like, hey, after you complete this, please change it back to the original owner. Like, we don't have to go through any of those hoops. I think this would be my first option as well, and just save it so that that person can see it. And I think that's how I would do my assignment is, hey, go to this view. Here's the task that I need you to work through. Here's who to ask if you have questions on it, since I know that primary person is out. So
Yeah.
I think that's
And
probably ours.
keep in mind that you can update these. So if it's something that's like, well, I don't want to get rid of this view, I just want to update it. So hey, next month we need to cover for a different time period. Then you can come in and select a different time period. Click OK. So that all future tasks, once they are ready and populate, will be here. Let me update this view and save it again. Um, so you can just update current view as needed, or delete it once you don't need it anymore. Once that coverage is over and you don't want that view anymore, you can always delete that as well.
And this is something that if you know there are a lot of vacations coming up, Or if you have an admin, like let's say a VA who's helping you with emails anyway, or task assignments or whatever, this is something that they could look ahead on the first day of the month, look ahead at the month and see what needs to be created, create save views, and kind of like help assign some of those out. So however you want to tackle this, whether it's a, oh shoot, somebody's out today, let me create a quick list, or if it's something in the future that you want to get yourself organized on, you can definitely tackle that however you would like to. But I think this views is probably your closest to a temporary workaround.
Yep.
Beautiful. Alrighty, Jody. Couple of questions coming in here. In case anybody does need to hop off, I want to give a quick like, where do we go from here kind of thing. So we hold
We've got
these
one more question that
Q&As.
just popped up.
Yeah, I saw. Let's go ahead. Oh,
Okay.
yeah, let's go ahead and cover this question and then I'll pop in there. I just want to be careful
Okay.
about time if anybody has to
Yeah.
hop off exactly at the top. So, okay, Tara first. You got it, Jennifer. I would have to give the person covering access to the client files, but you don't have to reassign the task. Yes. So that person would need access to that client, right? So that they could see anything. But you would not need to reassign the task. So Jody's showing how to update that access. For anybody that missed that, you went to the practice settings, that gear icon top right, and then we went to manage users.
Yep. And then you can pick, say, okay, I need them to cover these clients here. Yep. Great. And then once you don't need them covered anymore, come back here and deselect those to get them back to whatever coverage they need.
Yep. And I'm one of those, if I don't add a task in Keeper to remind me to go back and change that access, I'm going to forget. So if that's something that you need to add in your firm task or in an unconnected client that's just like Erica's tasks or something like that, do whatever you need to just get yourself a reminder to go back to it so it shows up on your task list. Okay. Quick where to go from here, and then I'll jump back into Jennifer's question. If anybody else has any questions that we just haven't gotten to or that just surfaced, feel free to throw them in there. We'll stay on as long as questions are coming in. We'll make sure to answer anything that has come in so nobody gets shortchanged. So about where to go next, we have these each and every month highlighting a different feature or a different area of Keeper. So you can always go back to our YouTube playlists to go find previous ones if you wanted to look at onboarding or metrics or anything like that that we've covered before. Or you can come to the next one to join live and troubleshoot your questions. We do have an additional like freebies page on our website. So it's just hughesandstrong.com/keeper. If you want to see any free templates that we have, or go and see a couple of fun PDFs about how to set up your client portal, anything like that, that can be kind of the next step if you're like, ooh, I really like this. Let's learn more about Keeper and kind of some of the more extra sprinkles things. And then from there, we did kind of half-heartedly mention, hey, if you need to hop on for a troubleshooting call on Zoom, definitely let us know. But we do have full service. So whether that is, I need you to train my team because I still don't know what I'm doing in Keeper and I don't want to tell them wrong, we can come in and be a cheerleader for best practices, how to navigate. We can take a look at your account if you want kind of a diagnostic review instead of a diagnostic on your books, a diagnostic on your Keeper. And then we do plenty of things like, hey, I am just super swamped and I don't have time to reassign all of these tasks, or I need to go in and clean up a couple of years where I wasn't really using Keeper well and I have a bunch of backlog tasks. We do have templates if you need kind of a help me get started kind of thing, or we can do full hands-on setup if you're like, I want Keeper set up, but I don't want to do any of the clicking. So wherever you land on that spectrum, we are absolutely here to help and be an extra set of eyes when it comes to Keeper. Okay, with that out of the way, let's go ahead and pop back into Jennifer's question. So, is there a way that a view can be updated to dark mode or night mode? The bright white can get really taxing on my eyes, and I cannot figure out how to change that in my profile. So, I have the most fun hack for you. Answer is no, technically, but not in practice. So this is one that Keeper itself does not have a dark mode. there is a feature request out there that I'll shoot over so that you can upvote it and see whenever that changes and raise your hand that Keeper wants to do that. But the workaround is to have an extension like a Google Chrome extension or whatever your base browser is extension that turns any page dark mode. So that's what I use 90% of the time, if I'm honest, just because I'm in the same boat that the bright white like kills my focus and gives me
What's the extension you use?
give me 2 seconds. I gotta find it. Okay, so the one I use is called, it's just called dark mode. So real simple there.
Oh, I need
Um,
to.
so dark mode is one of my favorite. Um, there are a bunch out there. So dark theme also works. Um, Google Docs dark mode. So be
Are these
careful
the
about
same?
if
Wait, is
they're
it this one?
specific.
They're all named
Um,
the same.
oh, that's tricky. It's the second one that I use at least. So
I'm gonna test it
something,
out.
yeah, go for it. Something like this allows you to make any page dark. So even though it's not technically built into Keeper, you can go in and add. Now,
Check that out.
there we go. So now, quick disclaimers. This does mean that it will change the colors on your page. So if you had colored
That's not green
statuses,
anymore.
right? So there's going to be some of these. I will say I played way too long with dark mode extensions, so be careful. It is a rabbit hole, but a lot
That's
of
your difference
the,
here.
yeah, a lot of the extensions that you may use, you can set different like themes. So I can like make the back a grayscale, but keep all the same colors for the status. So that's something you can kind of like play with and micromanage yourself so that you can still see any of the colors that you want to. But just know that the workaround there is an extension. It's not like you're missing something in Keeper that just isn't built in, but a lot of us use a little Chrome extension or something like that and play around with it.
That was awesome. That was like a little hidden gem of the day. Thanks.
That's one of my favorite because I have dark mode on a lot of other things, but Keeper's one that it just like I would love this so much more if it wasn't so bright.
And I
So
have
that's
dark mode on like everything else, but I'm so used to Keeper this way because I'm in it so much that I don't know that I could switch. I'll have dark mode on
yeah,
everything else except for this.
exactly. So dealer's choice here. A lot of the extensions you can like turn off for this page or turn on for this page if you have dark mode set up for a lot of your other things and you don't want extra dark mode layered on top. So definitely something to play around with. Like I said, give yourself some time to like figure out exactly how to use it, but those extensions are very fun. Jennifer, you have a really great like secondary question. Do you know if that works on QBO? That would be something I would have to test. I would be surprised if it didn't, but I also like some of those platforms are just really particular. So, ooh, Jody, yes, quick test.
Yeah, I'm not in my usual thing, so I gotta get to the sign-in page.
Yeah.
I
While
mean,
we're
so far
doing
it
a
looks
quick
like it's
test
working.
here, I know I'm like, well, it's promising at least. Um, any other questions coming through, let us know. After we get done kind of testing this here in QBO, we will probably wrap up there unless anybody has any last minute questions. So file them in if you have some while we're getting this set up.
Cool. It does.
Yeah, let's go into it just to make sure. Like, triple check. But it looks promising, Jennifer.
Yeah.
Tell you that. Hey, there we go.
Look at that.
Ta-da!
Fancy,
So again,
fancy.
there's lots of different extensions you can play with. Hey, what color do I want to turn the background to? Stuff like that. So if anybody else is one of those that either gets migraines or is just at their computer way too long and your brain is not made for that, definitely play around with some of these extensions because it can kind of build off of anything that you can't technically go dark mode on. So fun
Yeah.
little baby tip of the day. Alrighty, friends. Well, thank you again so much for joining us and letting us nerd out with you for a little bit. I hope you were able to get a behind the scenes look at Keeper emails to see where you may land along the spectrum if you want it to get a little bit more full featured or if you're ready to hop in. So, past here, let us know if you have any questions that are coming up or want some help with your Keeper specifically. But past that, I hope you have a great rest of your Wednesday. We'll see you all next month.
Thanks, everyone.